Choosing the right visa can make or break your digital nomad journey. But how do you know which one is right? Because there's so many options out there. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down a couple of the key visa types and their benefits so that you can choose the one that's right for your journey, for your goals. Hi, I'm Arnitha Webb, Global Lifestyle Strategist, and we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of the trending visa types, namely the digital nomad visa, the non-lucrative visa, and the retirement visa. I know that all of this is overwhelming, and there's some gray areas in each of these. And then each country has, their own rules, their own immigration laws as it applies to their visa. So I'm here to help you decide which one is going to help you reach your goals, okay? And by the end of this video, you should have a clearer picture of the differences, the commonalities and the differences of each of these visas, and you should be able to make an informed decision. So let's get started. Now, first, I want to start with the digital nomad visa because that's the one that we hear so much about. And it's been so much movement around the world with this visa. A lot of countries either introduced it for the first time or definitely revamped it during COVID and post-COVID, right? The important thing to start with is to understand what is the purpose of a digital nomad visa. The purpose is not for you to come to the country and remain as a permanent resident. It's really intended for extended stays because most visas, and I'm going to talk from the perspective of a United States citizen. Most countries we can go to without worrying about a visa for, let's just say, on average, 90 days. But what if we want to remain there for 6 months, for a year perhaps? That is where a digital nomad visa comes in. But a digital nomad visa is also created for you to also have your own source of income, to be gainfully employed, typically, let's say, with a US employer, right? And as part of the application process for a digital nomad visa, you would have to, of course, demonstrate that you, in fact, have that source of income from the employer. And in some cases, in most cases, that that employer is aware that you are working outside of the US in that country. Okay. So it's not intended for you to go to that country and seek employment. All righty. Another thing about the digital nomad visa is that you also have to demonstrate that you carry your own private health insurance. Okay. It's not intended because once you leave the United States, you'll find that most countries have some type of public health care system for its citizens. So it's very different from the United States. But you're not there so that you could take benefits from the country. So you have to demonstrate that you have a policy for the length of that digital nomad stay. Okay. Now, even though it's not intended for you to stay permanently, that doesn't mean that there's not a slight gray area there because in most countries, after staying there for a year or two, if you want to extend your digital nomad visa or maybe apply for a permanent resident visa, in most countries, you will be able to do that. Okay. Let's move on and let's talk about the non-lucrative visa. Now, the non-lucrative visa, uh, it also has a gray area because oftentimes it is the equivalent of your retirement visa. But when we say retirement visa, if you're thinking from a US citizen perspective, we're thinking of someone that is retired, over 65, over 67, receiving a pension, receiving Social Security, right? However, a non-lucrative visa doesn't mean that you're receiving a pension or retirement benefits. It could simply mean that you have a reliable source of income. That income could be in the form of dividends. It could be in the form of rental property payments. It could be it can take on many forms, but you are not a traditional W-2 worker, freelancer, I-9 employee. You have your own independent sources of income. That is a non-lucrative visa. Now, when it comes to the application processes, the requirements can be very, very different because a digital nomad visa is thinking of the working person. Typically, the monthly income that you have to demonstrate for a digital nomad visa is going to be a little bit higher than that of a non-lucrative visa. But on the other hand, a non-lucrative visa can require more in the form of savings, okay, than a digital nomad visa. Okay, so there are some differences. It's very important to understand the purposes of the visas, how they are written and put into law, but then to really get into the weeds of the requirements of the country you're thinking about applying in, because you're going to find commonalities, but then you're going to find those little differences. Okay. Now, third, the retirement visa. Very similar, and like I said, in many cases, could be the equivalent of the non-lucrative visa, but the retirement visa is truly looking for the pension, the Social Security income. Okay. And of course, let me say, digital nomad visa, non-lucrative visa, retirement visa. Think about all three of those. None of them are giving you the ability to come to that country and take a position within that country, to take on a job within that country. Now, that is a commonality between all three of these visas. You will not be taking a job from any of its local citizens. Okay. Now, retirement visa, the income thresholds are going to be a lot lower than a digital nomad visa. One is a pension income, the other is a active working income. Okay. So requirements are going to be different. And it's just, like I said, important to know the differences. Now, let me give you a couple of tips. Let's think about which countries um, have low income requirement thresholds, and let's just get a little more creative. And let's tack on fast processing. Okay. Which visa can you get, let's say, under 30 days? All right. I'm going to say off top of my head, because I wasn't even going to go into this on this video, but why not give you some tips here? Spain's digital nomad visa is processing in less than a month. Spain's threshold for income, I'm going to say it's on average of 2,500. Okay, not terrible. Not terrible. It may be slightly higher, because I think I did see recently something about an increase. If it hasn't gone into effect, let's look for that to go into effect on top of 2025, shall we? Okay. Costa Rica. Costa Rica processes visas really fast and has a low income threshold. And let's see. Oh, did I say Colombia, Caraco, Costa Rica? All of these, you can safely say an under, let's just make a nice round number, an under $3,000 threshold and a less than 30-day processing. Okay, so that's Spain, Caraco, Costa Rica, Indonesia. Okay, all of those countries, you can make a decision today and next month have your digital nomad visa and be there. Okay. So, what's the takeaway here? We've talked about the digital nomad visa, the non-lucrative visa, and the retirement visa. The point is, go out into the world, have your location independent life, because it is available to you. Um, pick a country, and heck, next month you could be there. Alrighty. And if you want to delve into these conversations and more, then join the RYL Abroad community, because that's where we focus on helping you have a location independent lifestyle.